Good morning, everyone. Buenos dias a todos. Ya estamos en vivo. We are live now. Welcome, everybody, to this webinar. Today, we have an exciting topic. This is Sarah of Spa and Wellness MexiCaribe, as you know. And today's exciting topic is skincare tips for a healthy microbiome. And we have Karen Ballou of Immunocologie, who's going to talk to us about how we can keep our skin's microbiome and the microbiome of our body, which is so important, how we can keep it healthy and flourishing in order to protect us. Karen, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Well, thank you, Sarah, for having me with you. I love being with you, love being with Spa and Wellness MexiCaribe. It is such a pleasure. So thank you very much. I'm excited about our topic today, too. It's so many important tips here to talk about. And I always share with people, talking about skin itself is always such a pleasure for me because I've been doing that for many years, but being able to also talk about tips. I love talking about tips, and I always find myself in a place of have a little bit of this one and that one. And, it's like getting me to stop talking about the tips.
I'm sure the audience will be fascinated with all the tips we're going to hear. I'll hand over to you to continue with the presentation. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. And if anyone has any questions, we'll save those to the end. Is it right?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, we'll be gathering the questions, whether people are watching within Zoom or on Facebook Live.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I just want to say, just for those who may not know me, I've been in the industry for many, many years, and having had my own spa, having had my own skincare school, and also working on developing brands within the industry, there's been a very important part of my background is understanding not only the skin, how to do treatments, but also understanding the microbiome and what happens to the skin's barrier. So it's been really, really a pleasure putting this presentation together so that I could really share a subject that is so dear and really close to my heart. Especially, about 13 years ago, I actually had been diagnosed with cancer and Hodgkin's lymphoma. And one of the things that did for me, after having spent so many years in the business, it really taught me the difference of what happens with the skin's microbiome and the changes that occur with the microbiome from any kind of change or disease or bacteria or virus and so forth. And that history was just sort of what I call a learned history, because we get so comfortable in our own skin thinking that we're doing the right things. And even in developing products, we're always talking about the formulation and development of products and the pH of the product, but we never get that heart-to-heart talk about what happens with the skin's microbiome day in and day out. So I'm so happy to be able to share this with all of you. And part of this introduction also is the fact that because of the cancer 7 years ago, I found myself in a position to say, I need to put together a brand that I used during my cancer. Although it's not a cancer brand, it was a brand that is about the skin's immunity, and that's called Immunocologie. And it was there that I was able to really dig what I call down into the surface of the microbiome and the skin health. And that's something that we all have been talking about more and more and more about now. So as we go on, one of the things that I really want to be able to do is talk to you about that microbiome and how this really will affect not only just your most important organ of your body, which is the skin, but how it affects your gut. It also affects you orally and affects your skin on the outside. So with that, I lead into what is the microbiome? We many times talk about that pH of the skin. And, that is a true fact, is that we want to know what the pH of the skin is. If it's too alkaline or is it too acidic? But the microbiome is a community of microorganisms, such as bacteria, archaea, fungi, as well as viruses. And I think this is one of the things that we don't always think about, but in skin diseases and disorders, that does occur. And that inhibits the ecosystem or the organism of the skin. And that is where the human microbiome is a collection of trillions of microbes that are living in and on the human body. Now, that may not sound so pleasant, but it is the fact. And yet, what do? We try to wash it away, right? But sometimes we wash it away with harmful things, such as things that are soap driven, which is sodium lauryl sulfates and things of this that strip the skin, opposed to bring back the skin's natural biome. So what I really want to share with you here is, why is the skin's microbiome so important? Well, naturally, the bacteria that is surrounding our skin on a day in and day out basis, it maintains the skin's immunity, and it also presents pathogens that grows, such as, you know this as eczema and psoriasis, but then you can have blemishes as well. You can have inflammation as well. So it's really when that healthy composition of microorganisms and bacteria on the skin is disrupted that the skin becomes vulnerable, and the overgrowth in the pathogenic bacteria is increased, and the inflammation starts to occur. And then also it alters the pH of the skin. So that's where we get that acidic, too much acidic or too much alkaline. We need it to be balanced. And I always say, if we could actually roll around in dirt more often, we would actually be helping our skin's microbiome, helping with that bacteria, the bad bacteria and the good bacteria. So as we get into the fact of the benefits of a healthy microbiome, is something that we should be thinking about every day, just like thinking about your wellness. You're going through this every single day of, what are you eating? What are you doing for exercise? How is your gut? Because the microbiome of your gut really does reflect the rest of your body, from the sense of how you feel, what your skin looks like. So if your micro is being at all compromised, in that sense, if your microbiome is being compromised in your gut or in your mouth, it also will reflect on the skin. So I always say, healthy gut, healthy skin. And so improved skin metabolism is part of the function here. And it's almost the most important part of understanding how to have better skin, is to understand the microbiome. That microbiome is, again, going back to balance. So for better skin turnover, which is where we have the actual cell turnover, it's able to produce and actually shed those dead skin cells for smoother and more radiant skin. So one of the things that we're always looking at is, what kind of peels could we do in our skincare regime, or in the spa, we're looking at what kind of peels can we do on our clients. And that is so that we can get rid of those dead skin cells to get to the healthy skin cells, and to keep nourishing those healthy skin cells. So part of this is the improving of the skin's metabolism and function. Again, that is about the shedding of those dead skin cells to get to a better skin. So then there's the improved hydration. And the improved hydration is a bacteria that is actually there sitting on the skin. And what we want to really do is improve the skin barrier by adding more hydration, so that the skin will be more moist, will look more moist as well. But it's important for that bacteria that may sit on the skin, there's the good bacteria, the bad bacteria, that the bacteria that is there will help the barriers function by having it and giving it more moisture. So if the skin does secrete oils, it's not really a bad thing. It needs to actually bring oil to the surface, because the skin is made of water and oil, balance again. So what we do want to do, though, is reduce inflammation here. So when the skin faces less inflammatory stress over time, this reduces the common effects of aging on the skin. So the more that we can reduce the inflammation on the skin, the more that we can get the skin healthy, the more that we are anti-aging the skin. So I tend not to want to use the word anti-aging. And the reason for that is, I feel as though that if we have a healthy skin, a healthy microbiome, then what happens is that we end up with the anti-aging happening and occurring every day for us anyway, because it's through that hydration of the water and the oil, balancing it, keeping the skin at a what we call a very healthy state. And again, that occurs also through the gut. What I said earlier was if the gut is not healthy, the skin is not going to be healthy, because we are what we eat, as some people will say. And that's one of the reasons why I believe that if we are able to look at what products are not stripping our skin, but giving back to our skin. And that's why with immunocology, I really wanted to make sure I could give back to the skin. So for that, the skincare tips that I love to share with everyone, because I think these are things that people don't really think about too often, but on a day-to-day basis, they are disrupting their microbiome by not understanding the good bacteria and the bad bacteria, the pH of the skin. So one of the things that's so very important is to not over exfoliate that skin, or it will also create rashes on, rash on the product, on the skin. But it's also that products do become very harsh for some skin because of the fact that they have either particles in there or they'll alter the skin's pH. But really what it is it's actually taking an unbalanced, creating an unbalanced microbiome. So what I really want to make sure is that we're not over exfoliating. Sometimes we like to say, we want that peel. We want to be able to have a peel every day, but we can't do that. And sometimes even once a month is too much to do for our skin. Your skin's thin or thick, and you need to watch that pH of the skin as well. So don't over exfoliate and don't use harsh products. Those two things are very important to keep the skin in shape. So just to kind of reiterate that from the standpoint of the skin's pH and making sure that you don't create an unbalanced microbiome, we're going to then replenish the skin with lipids. This is really very, very important when you're using products that will actually help to protect the microbiome. So that could be in waters. As an example, I have a vital ionic mist, which actually helps with the microbiome because it adds that hydration to the skin. And it doesn't have any fragrance or dye, because we want to be careful about the fragrances and any dyes that are in products. We want to be careful also about how that product is going to hydrate the skin or create a lipid on the skin to protect the skin from the elements, from the outside elements that are harsh to the skin and create for an unsafe or a bad microbiome. So we want to make sure that we do replenish the skin with lipids, the oil and the water factor. And a lot of times when we're doing that, we're not too sure, especially when we have an oily skin, we tend to want to always strip the skin. But even with an oily skin, you need to put moisture back in to be a healthy skin. You can detox it, but you want to make sure you put back into the skin the hydration, the moisturization, and that help with those lipids. Now, there's also a part of this, which is to increase your topical mineral intake. This is where I also go back in and say, not only a moisturize is important, but it's also what we're feeding the skin. I came up with a term recently, and actually had a trademark. I loved it so much. It's called juicing for the skin. But it's about what are we doing to put on our skin that's feeding our skin, that's giving our skin not only the healthy glow and hydrating our skin, but what are we doing to put on our skin that's going to really benefit the body as well. And that's where the minerals come in. Because if you take these topical minerals, which are things like iron and zinc and copper and magnesium, these are things that are very important to our body. There are 12 essential minerals that feed our body. And so that's one of the things that was very important to me when studying and understanding the skin's microbiome and understanding the gut, is to understand what is happening with those vitamins and those minerals going into our body. So many of you, if you've studied nutrition, you've studied about the minerals and you've studied about the vitamins and the absorption of that. So nutrition is so very important here because the minerals that are there are to strengthen the skin's defense by supporting the growth of a healthy bacteria on our microbiome. And remember those ingredients I was saying, things like zinc and copper and iron and magnesium. And these are the things that are going on that are going to be on your skin And that's one of the reasons why I work with the 12 essential minerals, because I want to be giving the skin, or giving back to the skin, a healthy microbiome, balancing the skin. So as a part of a skin's barrier, which looks in what I call the barrier of defense, is to also lock in our skin's moisture, as I mentioned before, to protect it from the outside world. So when you put a moisturizer on the skin, you're really protecting it from the outside world, but you're also giving to the skin, especially if it has a delivery system like Immunocologie does with its clay water. And so it's that protection that we have through those minerals that are naturally and anti-pathogenic and can also kill off harmful bacteria. Those minerals are there to do that. They have a healing power. And so a lot of times we don't think about our skincare as it being a healing power. We may know it, but we think more about the glow and about being able to get rid of dead skin cells, but we don't think about it as protection. So those minerals are very important to the way that the skin will heal, or the way that the skin will actually, what I call, repeat itself, because you shed the dead cells and you get new cells. And so those minerals are there to help kill off that bacteria that will normally sit on the skin. So you need those minerals in your products. Now, detox is such an important word for me, because, you know, we do it through juicing. And again, we say juicing for the skin. Well, we need to do this for the skin. We need to detox the skin, get rid of those toxins, get rid of those poisons in the skin, and use those minerals as a way that they can be absorbed into the skin, or what we call adhere to the skin, so that the toxins and the microbes can actually get out of your system, so that you can have a cleaner and healthier system. And that's the form of detoxing. You know, a lot of times we think about detoxing the skin and we don't think of it as a way of health. We just say, oh, we need to get rid of, you know, that surface dirt and debris. But we're really wanting to get out of the pores. And when we sweat, that's one of the things that happens through sweat, is we're getting rid of the toxins in the body. So a healthy body, a healthy microbiome, is getting rid of those toxins off and out of your skin. So that's one of the reasons why I love being able to have our Vital Clay Mask, because it is one of the strongest of all clays in the earth, with all of those fabulous minerals that we were talking about, and being able to bring those minerals right to the surface of the skin, which is why, again, I'm so passionate about the earth and the microbiome and how we're balancing the skin. And so what I did is I found that the clay, of the French green clay, which just so you can see the clay itself, the clay is in a powder form when it starts, and we clean that clay and we bring it together with water and we create a clay water, which is so enriching for the microbiome, because we're working with that bacteria that I talked about. There's the good bacteria and the bad bacteria. But when we work with the clay, we take that water and clay, infuse it together. And when we do that, we have exactly that. It's a clay water. And I'm just going to put a little bit on my hand here. I love spraying it on my face. It feels so light, but yet, you know what it's doing? It's actually detoxifying, but it's also being able to balance the skin, helping with the skin's microbiome, helping with that bacteria level. And then what I find most important is, because of the skin impurities, if you have any issues with your skin, it'll help to clear those things up as well. Helps reduce the free radicals. It helps with the visible signs of pores. I love how it actually shrinks the pores and provides this essential nourishment to the skin. And so it was that clay water that I love sharing with everyone. We call it the Vital Ionic Mist. And so we purify this clay just for that reason, to work with the skin's microbiome and balancing the skin. So it's a clay water infusion. We call it Vital Ionic Mist, so you can see it. And this becomes part of the water story for me and the microbiome story for me as well. So part of this, when I take you through this next slide, it's really to help you to understand why and what's important to being able to get on your skin, get to a healthy skin, get a regimen that's really right for you. And if you're working with clients in your spa, or you're just a consumer who is there, who wants to have a great regimen that's going to really help with healthy skin, getting that skin to be healthy, helping with the environmental factors that do attack your skin, that do attack the skin's microbiome, and be able to use a regimen that's actually simple. I mean, really, really simple. So I put together what would be what I call the simple microbiome treatment, which is always have to clean away any of that environment, whatever that day brings in, want to get rid of that. And our cleansing lotion is so gentle, but it's good for all skin types. So just a little bit goes a long way. And I just want to show this to you, where you just get that on the skin, and that little bit will go a long way. One of the things that's so nice is the bottle is a 3.4 ounce, so it lasts a long time because it goes a long way. But one of the things I love doing, either rinse it off or you can tissue it off. And it's going to start to take down that inflammation, get rid of the day, whatever is on your skin, help with the microbiome because you're not stripping the skin. It works with the bacterial level. So we're actually leaving a little bit of moisture on the skin after we cleanse. Then what's beautiful is our Vital Ionic Mist, which we can spray after our cleansing, which I just did a moment ago. And this is just clay and water, no fragrance, no dye. Helps again to balance the skin, help with the lipids, get that water on the skin, juicing for the skin. And let's lock it all in with our face serum. And our face serum is this beautiful belenite oil, which comes from the desert date tree in Africa. And you can see how pure that is. You can just see how pure that oil is. And it's so light, it's a dry oil. And the dry oil is going to just surfacely blend in with the skin without leaving any heavy residue. It's not sticky to touch. It's a dry oil. It has a clay water in it, so it has a delivery system, that beautiful juicing for the skin, helps to work with the microbiome to balance it, and it helps to protect from the outside world that can get into the skin, because one of the things that the clay does is it acts as a barrier so that this way the environment doesn't get in to your body. So there is a protection factor there that goes on with immunocology as well. And of course, being able to finish it off with your body serum, which you see here in this picture. It is a beautiful white bottle. I actually had one with me, and I gave it away. So I gave some really great friend a bottle. I said, "Oh, you need this for your skin," and she was loving it. And so with what you see here in the picture is our body serum, and that's made from the microbiome aspect as well, because we want to balance the skin all over. And it has the clay water in it. It has our belenite oil, and that belenite oil comes from the desert date tree in Africa, where we actually give back to the community there. We have put together to work with us in Burkina Faso. And we also work with the Fair Trade Act, which is so important to me, that we're giving back to communities, not just putting a product together, but a way of giving back. So the immunocology products are made with these ingredients that come from Burkina Faso and Africa, Senegal and Camus, and we do some rainforest ingredients as well. And they come straight to us from these locations, and we get to formulate with these beautiful fair trade with the Nagoya Protocol ingredients. And we help these women with things like with their education for their children, and we're giving back to the women in the communities in those areas of Africa. So I really love sharing that story with everyone. And part of this story is also knowing that what we're doing, and they know they're doing, is they're giving us something that's so beautiful, which is the belenite oil. And I'm able to give that to you to be able to help you have the best skin ever, and also working with the microbiome. So remember that you don't want to destroy that skin. You don't want to put that that skin in a compromised position. You don't want to strip the skin. And these are some of the tips that I love to just reiterate again, is that we don't want to use harsh ingredients. We don't want to strip the skin. We do want to turn over the cells, but we don't want to take away from the skin. We have good bacteria and we have bad bacteria. And by taking away everything, we're taking away all of that, and we're leaving the skin vulnerable. And so that's where, without putting back those lipids, by using the right products, you end up what I call with skin that's going to either age faster or it's not going to be healthy. And so I want all of you to have healthy skin. So if you're treating skin in the spa, that's one of the things that you want to do, is you want to make sure that you are treating the skin in a way that's going to be healthy. And for those clients that come in and have treatments in the spa, that you have a lot of different techniques that you can use, but you always want to remember that you want to leave the skin moist and protected for the outside world. And that's what Immunocologie will do for you. So I want to make sure that all of these little tips of what we're talking about today, we get to remember them when we're actually there with skin and we're working on skin every single day, or we're doing our own treatments at home, that we protect, we hydrate, and we don't treat our skin badly. We want to make sure that our skin's microbiome is safe. So I want to thank everyone. And if there's any questions.
Karen, thank you so much. That was really interesting. We have a couple of questions. You mentioned not over exfoliating.
Yes.
And that's really important. The question is, with the recent trend of microblading, what are your thoughts on that? Is that too harsh for the skin?
Well, I think that it's not going to go away. so I have to say that for some skin, yes. I think being able to know that after you do that, that you treat your skin really well. And I think most people who are getting those services done are actually going in and having that hydration put back into the skin. So use your serums. Like as an example, we have a hyaluronic serum that you would use, or you would use our Super 7 serum, so that you're building up on that skin after you've done after you've had the blading. So I want to say that I'm not against it, as long as you're doing something to build up on that skin and protecting that skin. Without that, you are leaving your skin susceptible, and you're really affecting the microbiome because you're taking all of that off.
Wow.
And you know, you need a little good bacteria and you need a little bad bacteria to be healthy.
Interesting. Thanks for your opinion on that. You also mentioned that minerals can kill harmful bacteria. So if the minerals are antibacterial, how do the good bacteria survive through that if minerals are naturally antibacterial?
Well, that's a really great question. You know, part of that is that the balance of minerals is there to be able to find where the skin has its most compromised issues. And when you have the good bacteria there, one of the things that does is it keeps the skin healthy. When the bad bacteria is there, it causes for inflammation, psoriasis, eczema, or pathogenic growth to the skin, where you end up with skin issues. And that's where skin patches come in and so forth. So the skin has a memory. And it's a really funny thing is that we don't think of skin having a memory, but one of the reasons why we regenerate the skin is because of the biomimicry. And so the skin knows when it needs, what it needs, and when it needs it. And so what we do is we always will say, oh, I have dry skin, or I have oily skin. And one of the things that when we're doing that, we're also thinking about the good bacteria, the bad bacteria. Now, that doesn't come to mind for most people, but in the sense of being a skin specialist, that comes to my mind. So the good bacteria that's there is there to keep the skin healthy. The bad bacteria is there and is going to create the problems. So when we take this together, the skin produces its own form of bacteria and will bring it to the surface, such as the oils or the water, as in that perspiration that has its own way of bringing water and good bacteria to the surface. and it's getting rid of those toxins which are coming through that oil or water. So there's that combination that occurs, and yet the body has a way of secreting it out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we sometimes suffocate that by not putting or doing the things that we need to do, which is, sometimes we'll go back and strip out that skin, and we're not putting that back. And so we have to have that combination of being able to put back give back to the skin that we don't normally even think about. So when we're working with products, we always want to make sure that we don't have bacteria in the product, because the skin has its own bacteria itself. So you don't want to have, you're wanting to take away that bad bacteria, while the good bacteria is the way the body will keep it hydrated and moisturized on its own without a product. We give it a little lift by adding a little more water and a little bit of oil by our products.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you. And the ionic mist, the question is, can it be sprayed onto the face over makeup?
Yes, it's a great makeup setter. Also, this is the Vital Ionic Mist. And one of the things about that is that it can be used over setting makeup throughout the day. It can be used on the body as well. And, we did a little test on this where we found out that, I was sharing a little bit about this, is it's a protection. So when you do put this on over your makeup, you're actually adding that extra layer of protection from the outside elements. And if there is any bad bacteria or anything that's causing the skin to be get inflamed, the clay water will actually help that. So this will take down that inflammation during the course of a day. Even if you're feeling like, you're itchy or something is happening, spray this on, and it'll help with that, because that is telling you, it's an indication that something's happening. There's a reaction happening. So this will help balance out that microbiome.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Karen. So very interesting to hear your thoughts on the products and the tips that you shared with everyone on how to look after their skin's microbiome. It always makes me want to ignore all the rest of my skincare in my bathroom and just use Immunocologie. You speak with so much passion about the products, and I know how much care and attention and love they're made with.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I always said, Sarah, no one needed another skincare brand, but what was really important to me is the importance of how these are formulated to get the skin healthy, work with the microbiome, and get beautiful results. And we don't even have to talk about anti-aging, because you become ageless when you're using Immunocologie. So love for, the spas to have this in their back bar, because we have 5 protocols. And also, of course, being able to have it for, anyone who is interested on having a very healthy and clean skincare line that's going to actually give you the best, most incredible results. And, we do have an offer today that if you do see this, and if you do see this, you can do KB20, and I'll know that you're coming from, Spa Wellness. So this is something that will be really wonderful to offer all of you who are watching today, so that you can get some of the Immunocologie products. Love for you to get our microbiome set, which would really help you to get started with a healthy skin.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for sharing that with us. We'll be sure to share it again with our audience. And I think if there are no more questions, we will wrap up for today. And thank you so much for your time. This was really wonderful.
Thank you everyone for being here with me today as well. And thank you, Spa Wellness.
Thanks everyone for watching.